Hey guys, I wanted to come on here and talk about this case with this man that was racially profiled in Long Beach. And before I get to that, I want to say a couple of things. Thank you guys for kind of bearing with me as, we go through this video process. I've been out of town. I'm still out of town. And there's been a couple issues, one after another, like yesterday, apparently the area that my hotel is in, the power went out and wasn't restored until late. And so I wasn't able to do videos. And you guys know how much I've been having difficulties here. So somebody's going to have to run me some type of credit. But because the first time they put me in a room where, because of the location of it, it wasn't even getting internet. And then they switched my room. And then 3 days later, there's a power outage. And so, it's just been a couple of things that's been preventing me from doing videos. So that's why there were none yesterday. If there's no electricity, there's no internet, there's no work or videos. And then the next thing, people keep asking me to watch The Purge. And they're saying that it's some kind of symbolicness, which the thing of it is I don't watch Purge movies. I watched a little bit of the first movie that came out. And because it was people going around it was more like a bullying scenario of picking on the lower end society people. I didn't really watch it, but I'm going to watch this one. I'm actually going to watch it today. I leave tomorrow, and I don't get back until tomorrow night. So I'll maybe we'll do some videos tomorrow morning. It won't be a Purge review. I'll do that Thursday because I get back home tomorrow night. Nearly at 10 o'clock at night. So obviously I won't be doing a live stream then, but Thursday I'll do a live stream and I'll do a breakdown of the Purge movie. Now, before we get into this this video, I actually first saw this story on Philip from Advice Shows. He did I don't think that it had went viral and the media hadn't picked it up yet, but he definitely did a video on it. And my first issue was that, and you guys know my stance on this, the fact that that woman was bold enough to be inside his car is very problematic. It is very problematic. Now, I'm going to go into a couple videos, and then I'm going to come back with some commentary because there's a couple things I want to point out. But first, let me get the video. I'm going to show it. It'll probably be from Phil's channel. I'll just show the video, and then I want to go to the news clip. Because I'm telling you guys, this mentality in the Black community where it's okay to be mistreated by every other group of people, where it's okay to just be on the bottom. It's okay to be relegated to not even second-class citizens, but a subhuman, subpar level, where you're kind of just like a wayward group of people. You have no culture, you have no community, there's no businesses by and large that you have. Black people are just okay with that, and it's clear that Black people are okay with it, and you don't have to vocally say you're okay with it. The way that Black people speak and act shows what's going on in their psychology. Black people are the only ones that don't understand this, and so it is clear that Black people are comfortable being relegated to bottom feeders, and that's just not okay. That needs to change before any type of liberation is possible. But I've been saying I don't think that Black people want liberation, and I'm beginning to see that more clearly as the days go by. But I'm going to play these videos and then I'll get back to some commentary.
I want somebody here. I can't go back to my house.
I understand.
Because of this man, and I'm feeling threatened.
It was a 911 call one man feels could have been avoided and wouldn't have happened if he wasn't Black.
You don't have to call 911 on me. Talk to me. Ask me my name.
Ezekiel Phillips was parked in his car on Ramillo Avenue in Long Beach on May 30th. He had just dropped someone off and decided to take a 30-minute break before going to his yoga class around the corner. That's when he says a woman walked up to his car.
You're not supposed to be here. This is a good neighborhood. So at that moment, I'm like, wait, hold up. Have a good day, ma'am. Namaste. And I rolled my window up.
The verbal exchange escalated from there.
She took her phone out. I guess started taking pictures, filming whatever she was doing. Hey, I went to film school. I can take film as well. So I got out the car. I started filming her. As soon as I started filming her, what are you doing? Leave me alone. I'm feeling threatened. Help, help. It was one of those.
The woman called for Long Beach police to come to her street.
So I go to stand 2 houses up from my parents' house, and I'm like, and then he's waving to me, and I don't know who he is. I go, why are you sitting in your car in our neighborhood? And he goes, I'm resting. And I said, well, you work 2 blocks back.
As she walked to her neighbor's house, Phillips followed her.
He won't leave me.
Listen to me. I better repeat this back so I have it right. 8, the number 8, A is an Ada.
Get away from him.
Ma'am.
Get away from me.
At one point, I wanted to leave because I'm like, you know what? I don't have time. I don't have the energy. But I thought about it. If I leave, it's looking like I'm guilty of whatever she's talking about.
My name's Leah with Fox 11. We spoke to that neighbor whose house the woman went to. He didn't want to speak on camera, but says he only called 911 because the woman asked. Other neighbors tell us the woman's actions were racist.
We all don't feel that way. I don't think if somebody were white sitting in their car, I bet somebody would have called the police. I don't. I think it's horrible. It's acting Trumpish. It's okay to be a racist, and it's not.
We tried finding the woman's home and called her several times. No answer as to why she felt threatened or why she stated Phillips attacked someone. A statement Long Beach police say was not true.
Yeah.
When you say he attacked other person, what did he do to them? Are your brothers?
Well, he's trying to get his business card to this other guy that I proved that he didn't do anything to me.
It's no longer cool to allow your discomfort to say that my discomfort is more valuable than the potential fact that this call, your life can be taken.
I spoke with Long Beach police. They say they didn't file an incident report because no crime was made at the time. However, they did know that they feel the woman did the right thing, that if you see something, say something. If you feel something or someone in your area is suspicious, they would like you to reach out to them. So that's the word from police. As for Ezekiel, he says he wants this to be a teaching moment to all people that they should talk with one another instead of always depend on reaching out to police. We're reporting live from Long Beach. Leah Uko, Fox 11 News.
All right.
Now, as we were watching this video, I hope you guys noticed a number of different things. And I want to say I got this video confused with a different video that Phil did on his channel. But that tells you how common this is, where there's so many of them where they all start to blur and mix together. And it's interesting because I'm going to tell you guys something. I went on a walk the other day, and I went into this Dollar Tree, and I saw this black lady, and she was a nice black lady, and we were kind of talking about these situations with the racism and calling police on people and things like that. And I didn't know her personally. This is just a lady I met. But we were talking about the calling of the police on people, and, I noted that, these are clearly, these are very obvious, very blatant. The bottom line is the only people who are calling the police on people are white people calling them on black people. So at this point, it is blatantly obvious what's going on here. And yet you have black people, like this lady that I met, diverting and talking about Jesus, okay? Because in the midst of that conversation, she knew I was moving, and she asked me what church that I go to. And I told her I don't go to church, and her entire demeanor changed. And it's really interesting to me because black people promote church as if praying to Jesus has ever benefited them or changed anything. We're sitting in a society where for hundreds of years we've been bottom class people being subjected to racial terrorism and white supremacist terrorism, and black people are still believing that praying to Jesus is an effective method of dealing with racism. And when you get into the conversation of racism, one of them at some point is either going to deflect to prayer as if it's ever done something, yet they can't tell you one tangible thing that prayer has actually afforded the black community, except a church where you have a black pastor swindling money from the poor people so he can give them to the rich, wealthy white elite, and that can help to fund black people's oppression. It's the same thing as what this dude in this video did, where he's sitting here talking about he wants it to be a teachable moment. Okay, but first of all, he's sitting here extremely passive, because if you notice the different demeanors, she was very hostile, very aggressive, and then immediately switched to play the victim. At no point did she become cordial. She never came respectful. Even when they asked her to explain herself, she was nowhere to be seen. So he's sitting here talking about, oh, well, this is a teachable moment, and she just needs to learn that you need to talk to people instead of assuming stuff. This woman knows exactly what she's doing, okay? This is why I say the problem will always be them, but the larger problem is the Black people's response. Because first of all, he's sitting there wearing a hat that represents a country that has historically and presently shown no respect for him. As he sits there and wears that hat, a white woman is showing him that he's not on the level that she is on within that society. And then the police of that American country that he's representing just set up and backed what she's doing. Everything matters. Your attire matters. Okay, that's why I said they're not just doing this to anybody. They're doing it to a lot of Black people, but they're not just doing it to everybody. And it's not just happening in the South, contrary to what people may think. It's happening all across the country. This happens in California. It happens in Washington. It happens in Oregon. From the East Coast to the Midwest to the South, it's happening to Black people all across the country. The problem is that they can pick a random Black person, and they do, and be guaranteed that they're going to get the same passivity that the last white person got when they harassed a Black person before this one. As much as you watch social media and the news, they probably watch it more. They just don't sit up here and comment all the time. You got your trolls, but for the most part, they'll just sit back and watch and observe every single thing that you're thinking doesn't matter. Like the fact that he's sitting there wearing that American hat, representing a country that he already knows is still disenfranchising him specifically and the most, just by virtue of him being a Black man, and he's still representing this country. And that's why I'm saying, your attire, what you wear on your hair, in your hair, to some degree represents who you are as a person. And if you as a Black person can sit in a car wearing a hat with a flag on it that represents a country that said you are not a citizen of it, you are 3/5 of a human, and nothing has changed except you have been taken off the physical plantation, and you are still a slave to this country, and he's wearing that hat. That's why she was bold enough to sit up there, because, and I'm not saying he was wearing that hat at the time, but even right now with him being on a news station, and he sits there, his solution is to try and teach the racism out of her. What does that say to other white people? Because they don't really care too much about what you're saying. They're looking at the fact of what he's not saying. He's not saying that he's going to hold her accountable. You saw that the police just backed her story and said that, oh, if you see something, say something. Basically saying it's okay to see a Black man sitting in a car and feel threatened by him. Oh, no crime was committed. If that white woman knows that this is about him being Black, they know that there's racism. Because you saw that lady in the video say, oh, well, I already know if there was a white person sitting out there, there's no possible way they would have called. Now, we all know this. But why isn't he mentioning that on the news? See, you have a bunch of Black people who constantly are put in these positions again, and I don't think they're vetting these people. I think they just understand that as a group, Black people are in a subjugated and inferior position that they accept and have grown to be comfortable in. In fact, not only have they grown to be comfortable in, there's so many Black people that think this is the only position that they deserve to be in, that they will actually fight to continue to be in this systemic position of being the bottom feeder class, because that's honestly where they feel like they belong. Because they look at themselves the same way their oppressor does. And obviously you would have to, because that's the only way that you could in your mind justify dating within the same group of people who are oppressing you. You have to believe that that is the position that you're supposed to be in. You would have to believe that as a Black person, you are inferior and they are superior, because you're passing along to them that they can oppress you and still get voluntary access to your body, and to your spirit, and to everything that comes with you being a spiritual being, which they are not. Black people refuse to pay attention. They refuse to hold these people accountable. Now, if you want to hold them accountable, it's getting to the point now it doesn't even matter if they're on social media. Yes, some of them get fired, but by and large, most of them don't. And clearly, they don't perceive that there's any real consequence to it, or else they will stop doing it. Now, you start doling out tons of lawsuits and all these things, then you're holding them accountable, because then they have something they can feel. When they lose some of that income and have to pay it to the black person, they're going to resent that. They're going to hate that. But sitting there saying, oh, we just need to talk to them, and then, okay, well, then then the problem is really not race. The problem is the communication issue then. So is he suggesting that she feels like he shouldn't belong in that area because she just haven't been taught that he does? What exactly is it that she will need to learn, though, when the police just told her that they're quite fine with her sitting up here calling the police saying she doesn't feel comfortable just because he's black? And then it says he was listening to a Bikram yoga CD. This dude exudes beta male tendencies to me. And I'm not saying that anything that he did is to account for her response, because you can't make anybody be racist, but you sure can do something that's going to make them think twice about being racist to the next person. And in situations where it's involving me, that's what they're going to see. And the thing of it is it isn't just black people who elevate these people and whose attitudes and treatment of these people make them believe and give them this arrogant attitude to where they can go out and harass black people. It's not just black people's attitude that's doing that, because I understand they have these attitudes towards other people that they perceive to not be white as well. I want to show you guys another story on how this isn't just black people, but by and large, they do this to black people because there's less of an opportunity that they will get away doing it to other people, although they do it to whoever they feel like they can get away with doing it. Now, I want to play this quick video before I wrap this up, because I want to show you guys what I was meaning. And let me say how the day that anything like this ever happened to me, although I highly doubt that it would, but the day that anything like this ever happened to me, I will make a clear example to where I promise you she would never do that to anyone else. But let's get into this video.
Mom! Can you get out of my car, please? Please?
What were you coming over here to do? Drugs?
Drugs? You want to check us? You want to check us?
No,
you want to check us? You want to check us?
No, I'm not the cops.
Then what
I want to see her insurance.
Want to check us?
I want to see a valid driver's license. Because you don't got one.
You want to check us?
Let me see your valid driver's license.
You want to check us?
Since you were
Want to check us?
You know the little park right here? Look, Carrie, get in. The little park right here? What park? She's saying that we're here to do drugs. The park that's right here by...
I'm not driving. Look, I'm not...
Look, you know where's that your address? Yeah.
You see me driving? You see me driving? You see me driving? I'm not driving.
Yeah, you were driving.
No, I wasn't.
You were.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. What part?
Oh. This bitch is... Look at her. Look at her. Look at her.
No.
Mom,
on the Viva Chino.
On the Viva Chino, you know the little park? Yeah, but it's on another side. Get in, don't even, está loca. Hey, Jerry, sit down. Jerry, sit down.
That was
Now, listen, they accommodated her racism. These are some alleged Mexicans, which Mexican isn't a race, and I don't need to go into all that. But the reality of it is, regardless to who they are, doesn't matter. Who she perceives them to be is more importantly what matters. She perceives them to be non-whites, therefore she is acting very arrogantly, very bold, very aggressive, and they are not checking her. They are accommodating her because she sat up here and made this blatantly racist allegation towards them. She asked them, are they there to do drugs? Now, the reality is the biggest drug epidemic and drug user in this country, contrary to what people has believed and still do believe, has always been white people and still is white people. So it's to the degree to where there's so many of them on meth and other opioids and heroin and all of these weird drugs that you can just see one of them and almost guarantee that that one of them is doing some kind of drugs, selling them or doing them. And yet she set up here for the sole reason of her believing that they are non-whites because they're Mexican. She sits here and says, why are you here? Are you here for drugs? And they asked her, do you want to search us? She's sitting there talking about she wants to see their valid driver license and some insurance, as if she's somebody who actually holds some kind of power in this country. And what they did is they accommodated her. They didn't attempt to run her over with the car. They didn't call her a disgusting cave beast and told her to get out their face and go get in her cave because the sun is out and they're going to steal her sunscreen. They didn't say anything like that. They sat up there in the car passively talking about, do you want to check us? I promise you, if any of them, first of all, I don't really believe one of them would come up to me saying anything to me. But like I said, the minute that they do, if one of them approached me like her, she would get cussed out and then maced. But I don't even think I would have to take it that far because she wouldn't be up in my face like that and she wouldn't be that bold thinking that she could do whatever she wanted to do. Now, the thing of it is what's interesting is that you have all these other groups of people who are being treated the same as black people, but are too dumb to actually unite. And I'm not going to say it's on them. I think it's more on black people because black people don't show within how they deal with their own people. They don't show that they would be loyal to anybody else, even if they did get in there. That's why you can't have any people uniting with black people because they see how much they're fractured with their own people. Black people walk around like it's normal to have this much self-hate. Like it's normal to have this much disdain to your own group of people. And they act as though they're sitting in a society where nobody's noticing that, when everybody is noticing that. Everybody notices black people's self-hate. Everybody notices black people's preference for their oppressor, although they sit up here and complain about the oppression. Everybody knows the way black people divide themselves based on skin tone. I don't care about y'all saying white supremacy is responsible. Bottom line is, if you know that white supremacy is the cause of this and you're still perpetuating it, that means you're responsible. That's what that means. That means you're responsible because you're keeping a white supremacist doctrine alive despite having knowledge of what this is, when it started, and what it's meant to do. And you're still perpetuating it. But then black people would sit up here and say, oh, well, no other race of people likes us. No other race of people respect us. And why would they? When they see that you live in your blackness all day, every day, you know better than anyone on the face of this planet, there is nobody who really cares about you, and that still doesn't make you unite. And you think that they're not going to notice that? That they're just going to turn a blind eye to that? Like they're just going to say, oh, okay, well, black people are turning against each other, but they'll have a whole bunch of loyalty when it comes to me. That's not how black people are the only people that think that somebody is thinking that way. Meanwhile, nobody is. This wasn't a teachable moment for that lady in the other article, because what is she going to learn? That black people are still passive, specifically the men? So that was a teachable moment for her. Yeah, and she got taught that she can go out there and do that to another black person because all they want to do is teach the racism out of her. No mention of giving her an actual consequence. No mention of filing a lawsuit against her. And quite possibly the police did back her and said, oh, well, we have a see something, say something policy. Okay, well, then your policy is faulty and doesn't have preventative measures against racism. Because in a society where the history says white people only see flaw in black people doing stuff, why are you implementing a see something, say something policy? You can't trust that they're not saying something, that them saying something isn't based off a real threat rather than somebody's blackness. So why would you have a policy like that? But you don't have black people in the news talking about that. You have them acting like they can teach the racism out of someone. And as long as you're sitting there thinking that you can teach racism away, you can only ensure that racism is here to stay. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.